Whatever my Lord, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. Broken-hearted syndrome. Our responsorial psalm. The Lord who heals the broken-hearted. Broken-hearted syndrome. It is well with my soul. Many of you must have known the circumstances behind the composition of this particular piece. Whatever, my Lord, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. In 1871, Horatio Spafford has a wife. They had 5 children. 1, a son, the other 4 daughters. In 1871, they lost the only son to a pneumonia. In 1873, when there was a ship sailing from US through Atlantic Ocean to Europe, among the passengers were Mrs. Spafford and the other 4 daughters. Eventually, what happened? There was a shipwreck. They were drowned. Only the wife was saved. The 4 daughters drowned. No child again. When Mr. Spafford got a telegram of what happened, he sailed again, going to Europe. And the sailor knew the particular spot where the 4 daughters were drowned. And when they came to that particular spot, he was told. And Horatio Spafford composed this piece. Whatever may be my lot, you have taught me to say, it is well with my soul. Broken-hearted syndrome. Broken-hearted syndrome is a metaphor that expresses a great emotional intense of a great loss, of sickness, somebody overcome by pain, somebody overcome by suffering, somebody overcome by loss of job, somebody overcome by physical sickness, somebody overcome by death of a loved one. Broken-hearted is a syndrome. Job, in the first reading, broken-hearted. I have been assigned misery for months, crying out. I am troubled. I have a troubled night. When I stay in the bed and say, when shall I rise? Then the night drags on. The conclusion of that first reading says all. I shall not see happiness again. Job wasn't alone on this broken-hearted syndrome. The psalmist in Psalm 42, verse 3 says, "Tears has become my food day and night." What is that is making you to cry day and night? The psalmist says, "Tears have become my food day and night." You know about Tobit? Tobit was a righteous man. He got blind. To complicate issue, the wife was cajoling him. "I thought you said you are serving God. Where is God when you are suffering?" Even the psalmist, where we have just referred or referenced to, people were asking him, "Where is your God?" Broken-hearted syndrome. To give up is not an option. So many of us are in broken-hearted syndrome. Lamentations, complaining. Some even attempted to take their life. To take their life is not an option. To stop coming to the church is not an option. To take poison to die is not an option. What is an option? An option is you will get through this. Patient. Job, eventually, in Job chapter 42, he got double of all he lost. Are you going to keep faith to the end? Tobit eventually was healed of his blindness. And the man we are talking about who composed "It Is Well With My Soul," Horatio Spafford, eventually they got another 3 children. Because of broken-hearted syndrome. Paul, in the second reading, said, "I am a slave to the gospel." What is a slave? Or what is a gospel? Gospel is good news. Gospel is good news. There is good news for those undergoing broken-hearted syndrome. He says, "I made myself a slave in order to bring everyone to Christ, in order to save everyone, to the weak, to the agonized, to the broken-hearted. I make myself a slave in order to bring them to Christ." And the gospel is the climax. God is not distant from you. God is not distant from me. Christ, after preaching in the synagogue, he went out to meet the brokenhearted. If Christ comes out, is he going to see you? You lock yourself inside your room. You don't want to come out because of pain, because of physical sickness. He healed Peter's mother-in-law. He cured many diseases and did what? he also drove demons away from the possessed. Trust in divine help. Time cures everything. It might not be well with me today. I lost my job. I'm sick. Tomorrow. Broken-hearted syndrome. To take my life is not an option. To stop coming to the church is not my option. It's not an option. What is an option? Trust in divine help. There is no one in this world that has not encountered tragedy. How do you manage it? Responsorial Psalm, the Lord who heals the brokenhearted. Whatever, my Lord, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well with my soul.